All right. And so yesterday we learned that Yaakov got tricked into marrying, Shalom. Yesterday we learned that Yaakov got tricked into marrying Leah. He wanted to marry Rachel. That's who he wanted. And Lavan tricked him and switched in the nighttime, the older daughter, Leah, for Rachel. So Yaakov said, okay, all right, that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. So I'll work another 7 years for Rachel. Rachel was the one I wanted. So it ends up that he really worked 14 years for Rachel, for Rachel. And the first 7 years was because he was tricked into it. So he got Leah. So we learned yesterday one of the reasons why Leah, it says, was despised, that he didn't like Leah. And we said that because Yaakov said to Leah, you tricked me. You and your father are trickers. And she said, it's just like you. You and your mother were trickers. You and your mother tricked your father, Yitzchak, to steal the blessing from Esau. And he said, Yaakov didn't like that. It's okay. And so, nevertheless, God sees that Leah is put in second place, and he gives her 4 sons. And she knows that there's only going to be 12 sons. And she knows there's going to be 4 wives. How does she know such a thing? Because she had divine inspiration. She was a prophetess. So she realized that she had contributed more of her share to the 12 tribes than any of these other wives. One of them Yaakov already had, and 2 of them he's going to have. Okay, who are the ones that he's going to have? So here we go. So what happens? She has 4 sons. Leah, the first one is called Reuven. The second one is called Shimon. The third one is called Levi. And the last one is called Yehuda. And it says the last one that God called his name. All the others, she made up the name. And it says over here. Here we go. She gave a body. Now that's Levi. Here it goes. And it says now Ode al Hashem. Balkan Kara Shemo. He called her the name Yehuda. She, not she. So it says who was it? Who called the name? That God called the name. And we have the whole explanation over there. All right. So Rachel, meanwhile, she's standing by. There's going like 4 years has gone by, and she is not getting any children. Rachel saw that she's not giving any children to Yaakov. That's where today's class is going to start. So Rachel was jealous of her sister. And she said to Yaakov, bring me sons. I want to have some sons. If not, I'm dead. That's what she said to Yaakov. Now, Yaakov he liked Rachel. He loved Rachel. He worked for her for 14 years. And now the marriage is going a little bit sour. No children. She's all aggravated. She's starting to be jealous of her sister. And she turns to her husband, jealousy and anger. She turns to her husband and says, I want some children. If not, I am just as good as dead. Depression. All the bad character traits here. So Rashi says, it's not so simple. Listen. Kina, she was jealous of her sister, not because her sister had children, but because of her deeds, her good deeds. She said, if it wasn't for the fact that my sister Leah was more righteous than I am, in other words, her motivations are not personal at all. She's only thinking about God. if Leah was not a more devoted person to the purpose of life than me, lo zachta labanim, she wouldn't have any children. That's why she said, Havali Benin. She said to her husband, Yaakov, bring me sons. I want some sons. Is this what your father did for your mother? Remember what happened? Yeah, Yitzchak got married when he was 40 years old, but 20 years passed, they didn't have any children. So it says that Yitzchak prayed for his wife. Haloit Palel. Yitzchak prayed for his wife. You're not praying. Come on, she said to Yaakov. Come on, you're the son of Yitzchak. You're the grandson of Abraham. They prayed for children. What's your story? Why don't you pray for children? And if you don't want to, Mesan, I'm just like good. I'm good as dead. Says Rashi. From here we learn that a person that does not have any children, he's considered to be dead. Because having children is not the purpose of life, of course not. But nevertheless, having children is a very, very important thing. That's why we get married, to have children. That's the ideal reason why. Here the HaChaim says that Rachel saw that Yaakov, that she did not give birth to Yaakov children. Now, of course she could. She only had one husband. Who was going to give birth to? It said that she didn't have children. What does it mean she didn't have any children to Yaakov? What's this mean? So that word is sort of extra. It says the HaChaim is not an extra. Ki hu b'chon she'eno akar, because Yaakov, he was not barren. Yaakov had children. He had children, so the problem wasn't coming from him. So en litlos bo, you can't say it was any sort of a spiritual or physical reason in him that there was no children, because he had children with Leah. The Homer, that's what he said. That's what she said. She was jealous of her sister. What does it mean, jealous of her sister? Because she thought like this. Listen, the problem is not with my husband. I can't put the blame on him and saying that he's barren. He hasn't any children, because he's got children. I can't put the blame on my sister. I can't put what do you mean on my sister? Because my sister, she's the same genes as I am. She's got the same basic DNA. So it couldn't be that I can say, well, listen, my sister has children because she just has a different chromatic, there's a chromosome, a different chromosome makeup than I do. But she's my sister. She has the same mother, same father as I do. So therefore, we have the same nature. And she's giving birth, and I'm not. If it wasn't my sister, I would say that maybe she just says that, no, her family, she inherited from her mother, that she's just more fruitful. So now she said, that's what he said. She didn't give birth to Yaakov any children. That was why she was jealous. Rashi says she was jealous because he didn't have good deeds. So that's what she's saying. There must be something wrong with me, right? The reason she was jealous of her sister, not because she wanted her sister to stop giving birth. No, she was jealous. In other words, she took notice of it, and she realized that the whole fault was in herself, right? Why can't I be holy like my sister and give birth to children? The problem is obviously in me. It's nothing physical because I see that my sister has the same physical makeup as me, and she doesn't have any, and she does have children. Also wants to say that the main argument was of Yaakov that if it was somebody else, that he's not so righteous, so she might say, okay, he's not such a righteous person, so it's his fault. And this is the reason why she didn't have any children, because of Yaakov. But now she sees that Yaakov is a big tzaddik, he's a righteous person, so obviously she sees the fault is in her. Vayichar of Yaakov. So Yaakov got very angry at his wife. He used to love her. And now she's coming with all these demands. I said, I'm in the place of God. Asher Mana V'mech Pribatan, that I prevented from you from having children. I mean, really, what was Rachel saying? What's she saying? So Rashi says she was saying that Yaakov wasn't praying enough. That's what she said. Wasn't praying enough. But we're going to see there's another explanation. What exactly she was getting at. So the reason is because, why was he angry? Why did he get angry at her? Why didn't he just understand? He should have said, listen, my dear wife, I understand. I realize, you must be pretty frustrated. You wanted to be part of build the Jewish nation and nothing is working out for you, but have patience. Now, was he getting angry? I'm in the place of God. She spit out a couple words. What's the bad problem? Just don't pay attention to it. He says, no, the reason he got mad was because she cursed herself. She said, Meitani, I'm dead. And the words of tzaddikim, even if it's he's just saying it, in an ordinary way. She's not intending to curse herself, but the words of a tzaddikim, they make some sort of a trace. We can learn from what that if a curse is made, okay, getting angry. So therefore, that's why he got angry. He said, what are you talking about? How can you even say anything like that you're dead? It's like you're cursing yourself, etc. Okay, that's what it said. Vayomer, and she said, okay, listen, here's my handmaid, Bilhah. Have relations with her, and she'll give birth on my lap, and I'll build from her. Rashi says, what does it mean? Here is, and I will build also from her. What does it mean, also? It says, my handmaid will be as though that'll be my contribution. In other words, I'm offering my handmaid, and that will be my contribution to the 12 tribes. And also, so that I will also have children. What does it mean? She was hoping that she would be jealous now of Bilhah, and that jealousy would cause her to even try more to have children, and that's what it means, that Bilhah will give birth, and also I will give birth. Let's see. What does it mean, Gam? She said to her husband, Yaakov, she said, your grandfather, Abraham, had children from Hagar. And what did he do? He girded his loins against Sora. In other words, Sora was willing to give up. She didn't having children. She gave it over to Hagar. Omer law. So she said, let's do the same thing. You'll take a wife on me. I'll give you Bilhah. He said, my grandfather, he made trouble in his house. He took this other wife, Hagar, and that made a lot of trouble in his house. Are you willing to do that? She said, if that's the only reason you're not taking Bilhah, then here, take her. Take her. Don't take a woman from outside. Take my handmaid, and I will build from her. It says, Gam also, like Sora. That's what he said. But the HaChaim says a little bit different. Oh, Safrono, here he says. That's what he said. Bring me. That I didn't think, that's what Safrono said. I wasn't thinking that you have the power to give me children. What I was saying is, give me children, take my handmaid, and that'll give children. And then it'll say that there'll be children from me. She was hoping that now the jealousy that I had for Leah wasn't sufficient to arouse in me a desire that I must be missing to have children. But now if Bilhah gives children, so then it will really arouse in me the desire to have children. And we'll see that Rachel is going to take the attitude that having children totally depends on her attitude. She has to really want to have children. We're going to see this with the Dudaim. We're going to see later on. Okay, so here goes Yaakov. Yaakov already has 4 children, and they're all from Leah. And now Rachel says, take my handmaid Bilhah. So Yaakov took Bilhah as an extra, a wife, and Yaakov had relations with her, and she gave birth. She got pregnant and she gave birth. She got pregnant and she gave birth. And Rachel said, God will judge me. He has judged me, and he listened to my voice, and he gave me a son. Therefore, she called the child Dan. Let's look at the Ramban. And each one of the handmaids, it says that they gave birth to Yaakov, a son. Obviously, they gave birth to Yaakov. Yaakov was the one that was having relations with them. There was nobody else. What does it mean to Yaakov? So it said, this is telling you that Yaakov desired and was agreed that these would be his sons. And they're not called the sons of the handmaids. They're called the sons of Yaakov. Just exactly the same thing as the sons of Leah and Rachel. And that's what it says. Bilhah gave birth to Ben Chamishi, to the 5th son, and Ben Shishi, the Yaakov. It's going to say that Bilhah gave birth to a 5th and a 6th son to Yaakov. In other words, what it means, that these sons that given birth by the handmaids, these are considered to be as important as part of the Jewish people and the Jewish tribes, which of course there was 12 tribes, as the other sons that all of them Yaakov wanted, and all of them were dear to him. Right? But it doesn't mention in the first ones the same thing, that they were born to Yaakov. Just to let you know, because you might think that Yaakov, they were like second prize, the second best. No, they were exactly the same level. Vav. Rachel said, we just said that. God should judge me. And he said, God judged me and Chayavani, and he found me guilty. That's why I didn't have any children. But now he judged me and he found me meritorious. And that's why my maidservant is having children. Bilhah got pregnant again, and she gave Bilhah Shifchat Rachel, and she gave birth to a 2nd son, to Yaakov. And Rachel said, Naftali Elokim Niftalti. Okay, it means like, we'll see, there's a lot of different words, but let's think of simply. The battles of God I fought with my sister, and I prevailed. Therefore, she called his name Naphtali. But Naphtali is sort of a strange name. We're going to see what exactly it implied. Rashi, Naphtali Elokim. Menachem ben Sorok is somebody that Rashi regularly quotes. He explains B'machberet Tzamid Patil, or he explains it as Machberet Tzamid Patil. Patil from Naphtali, he just sort of rearranges the language. Patil, which means connected. Tzamid Patil means it's connected. The covering of a jar that's connected, it's called the Tzamid Patil. Connected. Chaburim, it was connected from God. I joined with my sister to have merit for children. That's what he means. Naftali Elokim, I joined with my sister, Im Achoti. I joined with my sister so that I would join with God. What does it mean, join? I'll have children. Bani, says Rashi, I explained it, Lashon Ikesh Umfaltol. That like to be, how do you say, like to fight, to have a problem. Itakashti, I was like stubborn. and I requested a lot from God. Liot shava lachoti, that I should be equal to my sister. And also I won. He schemed. God agreed. Onkelos says Naphtali comes from the language of prayer. Til, right? Arranging. Naphtali Elokim Niftalti, I requested from God in front of. And Niftalti, and God received my prayers. That's what one explanation, what the word Naphtali means. Yeah. Here he says Naphtali means like Naphtali. In other words, a lot of pain. A totally different translation. I had a lot of pain with my sister, but I summoned up power in order to bear all of this pain and difficulty until now. Right? Another one is that I was, how do you say, sort of belligerent with my sister. I was barren, and now all of a sudden I saw that I was, okay, so he brings all these different explanations. I joined with my sister. All right. So really the meaning that I said in the beginning of fighting battles with my sister is not really valid. Not really valid. It means I joined to my sister, etc. I had a lot of pain from my sister. Leah, okay, so what happened? We have 6 sons are born. 6 sons are born. Leah gave birth to the first 4, Reuven, Shimon, Yehuda, and Levi. Rachel's handmaid gave birth to 2 more, Dan and Naphtali. Now we're going to get 2 more from Leah's handmaid. Leah saw that she stopped giving birth, so she gave her handmaid, Zilpah, to Yaakov to be a wife. And Zilpah gave birth to a son. And it says in all of them, Rashi says, in all of them, it says that they got pregnant and they gave birth, except for Zilpah. Zilpah, she was small. She was smaller, younger than all of them. And she was so young that the baby was very small. You couldn't see the baby. It was not, her pregnancy wasn't not recognizable. And why did do a thing like this? This was in order to trick Yaakov. Usually they gave the older, if a person had 2 daughters, the older one he would give the older servant, maid servant, and the younger one he would give the younger maid servant. But Leah, Lavan tricked Yaakov, so he gave the youngest and the smallest one to the older daughter. Shalo Yavin, he won't understand that it's Leah. Shekach minago, that he would give the older handmaid to the older one, and the youngest one to the youngest one. So Lavan gave Leah, his older daughter, the youngest servant, so the Yaakov would get confused. However it worked. Anyway, so he gives birth to a child. Zilpah gives birth to child number 7. And Leah says, "Ba God, there has come luck." And she called his name, God. God, Rashi says, there came good luck, Mazel Tov, like a God, Gadid. There's a midrash that says God, that he was born circumcised, like Gadu Ilana, like God means to cut off. And I don't know why, if so, why is it not written one word, bagad? Why two words? He said ba God. Okay, another one says bagad. That was his name, bagad, like bagad to be sheveta alai el shifchati ki ish bagad b'ishto anorim. She was saying her name is bagad. Why? Because he's saying you had relations with my handmaid. She gave her the handmaid, but you had relations with her, and so to speak, you cheated on me. That's called bagad, boged. All right, that's another explanation. So that's son number 7. Son number 8, Vatelet Zilpa Shifcha Leah Ben Sheni. She gave birth to a second son, and she said, "Lo," she said, Leah said, "Ba'ashri, I'll be happy. Ki ashruni banot, the daughters will make me happy." What does it mean? Vatikra Shemo Ashir. Why? Because this son will be part of my my happiness. Kigam zeh li ben, because now I've had half of the sons come because of my merit. So now she's very happy. Okay, now there's going to be, so how many sons do we have now? 8. There's going to be 2 more that are going to be born. We're going to have to, we can go over that quickly now. I wanted to go over the explanations, but we're not going to. So we have 8. There's going to be 9 and 10. What's 9 and 10? 9 and 10 is also going to come from Leah. Leah, in the end, alone is going to give birth to 6 children. And her maidservant, Zilpah, gives birth to 2 more. So she gets 8. Okay, let's do this quickly. Ready? Reuven, the firstborn son of Leah, goes in the day of the wheat harvest, and he found a dudaim. Now, what are these dudaim? Dudaim is some sort of a very fragrant, pleasant fruit. There's all these different opinions on what it is. Some say that it's a good luck fruit. It's good luck for giving birth. Some people say that it's some sort of a vitamin enhancement for giving birth. In any case, it has something to do with giving birth. It enhances giving birth. And Leah, Reuven found. And, okay, why did he go out? Said that this is the harvest. And they didn't take from anybody else. They didn't take the wheat and the grain from anybody else, but they just took things that were unwanted, what's called hefker. And that was called, so they found these dudaim. They brought it, right? Nobody wanted them. It's some sort of a shigli asav. It's some sort of like a weed or something, a plant. And Yishmael, it's called Yashmin. It's called jasmine. The Ramban says it's not so, that Rashi is wrong. That's not what it's called. And he says that the fruit of it is very pleasant smelling, but the roots of it, that's what it says here. He says the fruit is like some sort of an apple and has a really good smell, but the roots of it, this looks like a head and hands. And he didn't bring that. And the roots, that's what they say about it, that it helps to make a woman pregnant. If that's true, so it's some sort of a segula, it's some sort of like a charm, right? But not by the nature. Anyway, he says, I never saw such a thing in any of the books. I looked at Ramban, looked in all the books of healing. I never found anything like that. Here he says, when Reuven saw that his mother was, very distraught because her handmaid gave birth, right? That was, her name was Bagad. Bagad means my husband has cheated on me. He's abandoned me. Bagad means he's been unfaithful to me. And so that's when Reuven saw that. So he went out and he brought these dudaim. That's what he says, the Safrono, Ovadia Misafrono. He says that it's some sort of a good smell, and it's also good for giving birth. Like they say, etc. There's other things that they say. Okay. Anyway, comes Rachel to Leah, and she said, "Listen, do me a favor, give me those dudaim. Come on, I don't have any children at all. I'm really out of this whole picture. What's going on?" Leah said, "Come on, Hamad kachtechet ishi. You took my husband from me. Now you want to take the dudaim that my son brought, and what's going on?" And she was saying like this. Yaakov, his bedroom was shared with Leah. He didn't have two women in his bedroom. He didn't have his room where he slept. He only had one wife in that room. Now he's got 4 wives, right? So the other 3 there, who knows? They each have their own rooms, and he would visit them whenever. But Leah was with him. Leah was the one that he loved, after all. So, I'm sorry. Rachel is the one that he loved. I just tired. Rachel is the one that he loved. Rachel is the one that he loved. So now, Reuven, Leah's son, comes back with these dudaim, and Rachel all of a sudden pops up, and she says, "Give them to me so that I can have some children." So Leah says, "Listen, that you don't have children, that's your problem. That's your problem. I agree, it's a problem. But you're going to take these dudaim, you're going to demand rights. That you're going to say, listen, maybe now I'll be fruitful. Yaakov have relations with me. You're going to steal the time that Yaakov is supposed to be with me, with Leah." So Rachel says, "Listen, I'll tell you what I'll do. Give me those dudaim, and therefore you can have relations tonight with Yaakov in the place of these dudaim. What do you say?" And Yaakov came from the field, and Leah came out, and she said, "You're going to have relations with me tonight because I paid you, I rented you out because of these dudaim." And Yaakov said, "Okay." And he had relations with her at night. God helped, it says. And there came out, God listened to Leah, and she got pregnant, and she gave birth to a 5th son. And that's her son, the 5th one that she gave birth to. And Leah says, "God has given me my reward because I gave my handmaid to my wife." And it was because I gave Zilpah. So now, because I was willing to forego relations with my husband in order that he should have children, I gave him my handmaid Zilpah. So because of that, God rewarded me. And she called the son Yisachar. Yisachar means Yesh Sachar, there is a reward. Okay, there's a question why it always says Yisachar, because you don't pronounce it. Sometimes some people do Yisachar, but usually it's only pronounced Yis. Generally, in Judaism, if there's no vowel under a letter, then you don't pronounce the letter, unless it's at the end of the word. Right, like here, Yisachar. But, so it's not pronounced Yisachar. He said, why? Because God gave a reward, schari. One of them is because of the word schar, reward. And the other one is because of that she rented out her husband, schachar. I rented out, I paid Rachel. That's what the Leah was saying. Rachel was supposed to have relations with you tonight, Yaakov, but I paid her off. I rented you out from. So that's the other one. But the second one is not pronounced because the second one is for a bad thing. She rented him. Anyway, Leah got pregnant again, and she gave birth to a 6th son to Yaakov. And she said, Leah, Zavadani Elokim et Zeved Tov. that God gave me a zevet, let's see, a portion, a good portion. It says Yahav Hashem Yaseh Chelik Tov, a good portion. Hapam Yizbaleni Ishi. So my husband, he will like live with me. Now his main dwelling will only be with me, because I have children equal to all the other wives. Right? Yaakov has 4 wives, altogether 12 children. 6 of the children come directly from me. And afterwards, she gave birth to a daughter, and she called the daughter Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and he heard her prayers, opened up her womb, and she gave birth, and she said, Asaf Elokim et cherpoti. God has taken away, he's gathered in my shame. And she called her name Yosef, saying, Yosef Hashem li ben acher, God should add me another son. She said, may it be will that I'll have another son from me. There she prayed that she should have another son, and that's going to be Benjamin, who's going to be the Benjamins. And the previous Rebbe said, it about the previous Rebbe also, whose name was Yosef, that he took from Acher, from Jews that were separate outside, and he made them into Ben. He brought them close to make them sons of Hashem. People that thought they were separate from God, he revealed, Yosef brought them closer. They revealed they were Bens, they were sons of God. As we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Thank you very much. Be with us at 8:15 in the morning for tomorrow's class.